Welcome back, friends, to your video series on human computer interaction. In the previous lectures, we will be discussing about the human input and output channel, and in this lecture, we will be discussing about the human memory. And the human memory in this, most of our everyday activity relies on our memory. As we all know, our day-to-day activities relies on our memory. So our memory contains our knowledge of actions or procedures. It also allows us to repeat actions, to use language, and to use any information received via our senses, that is our input and output channels. So it allows us to use information received via our senses. It also gives us our sense of identity, and by preserving information from our past experiences. So it gives us sense of identity by preserving information from our past experiences. So it is generally agreed that there are three types of memory: the sensory memories or the sensory buffers, also the short-term or working memory, and we have the long-term memory. So this memory, as you can see, information is passed from sensory memory to short-term memory by attention, that is by focusing our attention on particular information. So we pass it to our short-term memory by focusing our attention on particular information that we received via our input and output channels. And information from short-term memory or working memory is passed to long-term memory by rehearsal. So this memory interacts with each other by and also with information being processed and passed between these memories and are stored. So now let us look at the sensory memory. The sensory memory acts as buffer for stimuli received through the senses. So it acts as buffer just for temporary storage of information received through the senses, whether our eyes, our ear, or skin, or any other means. So sensory memory exists for each sensory channels. That is, for the iconic memory, we have for visual stimuli. So we have iconic memory, that is the sensory memory for visual stimuli, and for the echoic memory, that is for the aural stimuli, and haptic memory for the tactile stimuli. So it is all important to know that the sensory memory, that is the haptic memory, echoic memory, and iconic memory, are constantly overwritten by new information coming in through these channels. So our sensory memory are constantly overwritten by new information coming into our inputs and output channels. So you can demonstrate the existence of iconic memory, that is as by moving a finger in front of the eye. So if you are moving it very fast, can you see it in more than one place at once? This indicates a persistence of the image after the stimulus has been removed. So similar effects is also noticed most vividly as fireworks display, where moving sparklers leave a persistent image. So information remains in iconic memory very briefly, in the order of 0.5 seconds. Similarly, the existence of echoic memory is evidenced by our ability to ascertain the direction from which sound originates. So this is due to information that is received by both ears. So this information, we can retain it in some particular order, maybe 0.5 seconds. And also, since information is received at different times, we must store the stimulus in meantime. So echoic memory allows brief playback. Also, let us look at how sensory memory is the information from sensory memory is transferred to short-term memory. So information is passed from sensory memory into short-term memory by attaching attention, just like I said earlier. So thereby filtering the stimuli to only those which are of interest at a given time. Attention, as we know, is the concentration of the mind on one out of a number of competing stimuli or thoughts. So it is clear that we are able to focus our attention selectively by choosing to attend to one thing rather than any other. So this is due to limited capacity of our sensory and mental processes. So if we did not selectively attend to stimuli coming into our senses, we would be overloaded, and that will become with a big challenge or big issue. So we can choose which stimuli to attend to, and we can decide not to attend to other stimuli. So this choice is governed by our extent of arousal or level of interest on it. So it depends on the level of arousal, I think the level of which the information we receive, or the level of our interest on it. So like the cocktail party I explained in the previous video about our input and output channels, we may choose to switch our attention to conversation across the room, but if we hear our name mentioned, so we switch our attention to where our name is being called. So information received by sensory memory is quickly passed to a more permanent memory store, or overwritten or lost. So if information is not passed from sensory memories to short-term memory, then it is overwritten or lost. It is also important, let us talk about short-term memory. Short-term memory, or what we know as working memory, it acts as scratchpad. It acts as scratchpad for temporary recall of information. So short-term memory is used to store information which is only required fleetingly, that is for a short period of time. Let us consider reading. In order to comprehend the sentence that we need, in order to comprehend a sentence, we need to hold in our mind the beginning of the sentence as we read the rest of the text or sentence. So it is also important to note that short-term memory can be accessed rapidly in order of 70 microseconds. However, it also decays rapidly, meaning that information can only be held there temporarily in order of 200 microseconds. Also, the limited capacity is 7 plus or minus 2 chunks. I will explain this later. So, there are two basic methods for measuring memory capacity. The first is it involves in determining the length of sequence which can be remembered in order, and the second, it allows items to be freely recalled in any order. So the first one, we must remember a particular order or sequence which particular sentence or number or anything follows, and the second one is just to freely recall it in any order. So using the first measure which follows order, a person can remember it in 7 plus or minus 2 digits. So try looking at these numbers. Now write down as much as sequence as you can remember. Did you get it all right? If not, how many digits could you remember? If you remember between 5 and 9 digits, your digit span is average. Like we said, 7 plus or minus 2. Now try this following sequence. Try these numbers here. Did you recall it more easily? These digits are grouped or chunked. So a generation of 7 plus or minus 2 is that we can remember 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. So therefore, chunking information can increase short-term memory capacity. The limited capacity of short-term memory produces a subconscious desire to create chunks, so optimize the use of memory. So the successful formation of chunk is known as closure. That's why most times we chunk our phone numbers, security numbers, and other things for easy remembrance. So in the next video, we'll be looking at the long-term memory. Thank you for watching, and if you have any question, please feel free to drop it at the comment box, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow us on our social media page at Message Academy. Thank you.